Eddie Jones's Wallabies will be desperate to beat the All Blacks in Melbourne. My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. Australia v New Zealand in round 3, which is the final round of this year's truncated rugby championship. It's at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Melbourne. It's on 29th of July, kickoff is 10:45, that's BST. We'll have a quick look at the teams, starting with the home team, Australia. Now, Australia have given like forwards and then backs, so we're going to do it that way. I don't know why. There should be some convention in terms of what way, lineups are presented, because so many different teams and unions do it in different ways. I don't know why, but front row is Bell, Parecki and Alalatoa. Second row, Frost and Skelton. Back row is Holloway, Hooper and Valentini. Halfbacks McDermott and Gordon. Left wing Corabetti. The centres Karevi and Pattaya. Then we got Nwanga Nitawase on the right wing, and then Kellaway at fullback. The bench is Ulesi, Slipper, Tupou, Arnold, Leota, White, Cooper and Pearce. And then on to the All Blacks team. So they've given it the same format, at least in the same game. We have them around it the same way. So front row is Groot, who's been absolutely excellent, I think, so far. Taylor, Lomax. The second row is Retallick and Barrett. Back row, Frizzell, Papialihi and Savea. Halfback, Smith and Mwanga. Left wing is Talea. Centres then Jordy Barrett and Rico Ione. Right wing is Jordan and fullback is Woden Barrett. The bench then is Takiaho, Tuingafasa, Laulala, Whitelock, Jacobson, Roygard, Leonard Brown and Clark. So in terms of last year, the team played twice in the Rugby Championship. First off, it was in Australia, it was 37-39, New Zealand taking the win out. Australia scored a penalty through Nick White with about 3 minutes to go. Game was a bit backwards and forward. Looked like they were going to win. Then that famous, clip that we've probably all seen a million times, Bernard Foley getting done for time wasting when he was told so many times by the referee that he needed to hurry up. Well, the referee basically said, we play, but very clear what he was saying to him. He pushed it a little bit too much, and that ended up costing his team the game. The second game then was New Zealand 40, Australia 14. A bit more comfortable for New Zealand in that one. I think in the first game, Kellaway, maybe scored 2 tries for Australia, but then in this one they only scored 2 tries altogether, and it's pretty comfortable for New Zealand in that one. In terms of changes to the team, then Australia, they made 3 changes to their pack. Angus Bell is in at loose head, Nick Frost returns to second row, and Tom Hooper is in at 7. Then in the backs, you got Take McDermott and Carter Gordon as that new halfback pairing. Carter Gordon, is getting his chance to start. Mainly, I think because Quade Cooper, Eddie Jones knows what he can give the team starting, and maybe he wants to see how Gordon goes. But I think Australia have this thing of, they're always looking for the next 10, because the guy in possession of the 10 shirt seems to be one mediocre performance away from people calling for him to be replaced. We saw Bernard Foley seemed to be the established 10 last year, but even before he was playing for the Wallabies, he had, I think, a lot of detractors who did not like his style of play and didn't just maybe like him, as a person either. And he was kind of, I think, a marked man. It was always going to be a case of, it was when, not if, he was going to be kind of put out to pasture, as it were, for that one. Quade Cooper, is back in the squad, but Carter Gordon now gets a chance to show what he can do. Luckily he's a young man and maybe won't be as phased as somebody with a few more years under belt would be, given, that he's basically been given the start against New Zealand, and, all of that kind of weight of expectation on his shoulders as well, of being able to spark something. We've also got Jordan Piutau coming into the centres, and Andrew Callaway, as I said, who scored 2 tries in that close game last year against New Zealand as well, coming in at fullback for New Zealand. Just a one change to the starting lineup. Sam Carter is out injured, so Dalton Papali'i comes in for him. And we have Sabea captaining the side, but we have just a quick look again at the sides. So, Australia, the front row, Bell, Parecki and Alalatoa. I think, it's a decent unit, but they're probably, like New Zealand, as I said previously, they've kind of gone from having what I would consider a stable scrum to a very aggressive scrum now. And these guys could struggle a little bit, but we've seen, the other front rows in the competition struggle against them as well. So it's not really going to be a commentary on Australia's front row if they struggle. It won't be any shame to him. I think with that, Frost coming back into partner Skelton, I still think that, Eddie Jones has to find some way to get Skelton to play the way he does for La Rochelle in a Wallabies jersey, because he looks a shadow of that player when he pulls on the green and gold. Nick Frost is back in there to partner him. He played in the first game against South Africa, so let's see how those two go in that one. Then got Tom Hooper coming in. His brother Michael is still out injured, so he gets to go at 7 there, and is the only change in the back row. I think, it's going to be, they're going to have to be really on it against that New Zealand back row, because those guys have been in really hot form, and I think they've been the unit that's really helped them. No Sam Cane for them, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then, McDermott and Gordon, kind of inexperienced halfback pairing. We've seen him previously before, like this can go, very wrong, or it can go very right, depending on basically just get a good start, get maybe some easy touches of the ball and have something that you try come off, and suddenly the confidence is there. Corin Betty, definitely Australia's best back, but he can do some silly things as well. The centre partnership, Karevi and Pataya, they seem to be mixing up the centres a lot, and looks like Eddie's trying to find a combination that's going to work for him there. Nawaka Nitawase, I think, is, he's a decent player on the wing. I think, in terms of, obviously, again, on that right wing, they've brought players in and out on that, but I think he's probably going to be the player there for the Rugby World Cup. Callaway is kind of, I think, has a chance now to put his hand up to be the starting fullback for them as well. I think fullback and 10 is where they're kind of struggling to nail down who's going to be the, who's going to be the player to really make that jersey their own. And then on the bench, they got the likes of Slipper, Tupou, Arnold, who was in the second row, right, against Argentina to come on as well. You got Leota, White and Cooper. So plenty of experience on there as well. They can go from, as I said, very inexperienced halfback pairing to very experienced halfback pairing when they bring those two on. But I would like to see White and Gordon get some time together before Cooper actually comes on at 10. On to the All Blacks then. That front row, especially the group, have been really good in the scrums, and he's actually been decent around the park as well. And, Cody Taylor seems to have a bit of a battle on his hands for, I don't think they're, absolutely decided that he is going to be the starting hooker for them. But it's a decent front row, and I think they're going to give the Wallabies problems in the scrum. Retallick and Barrett, really solid second row there, and then the unit I think that's been really good, not just in the scrums but in general play as well. Frizzell, Papali'i, and Savea. Obviously, not having their captain there, but they got Artie Savea to step up, and that guy. He never seems to have a bad game. He goes from being like really good to just out of this world good. And, depending on how things go, if he has one of those just out of this world good games on Saturday, it could be a big score for the All Blacks. Halfback pairing then, you got Smith and Mwanga. I think maybe Mwanga is probably going to be the number 10 for the Rugby World Cup. Certainly starting off. If he has issues in the Rugby World Cup, that can obviously change because there's plenty of talent behind him. But I think it makes the most sense for him to be the starting 10 there. The the wings, I think Talea is the one that's has that great chance to really put his hand up for a starting berth in the Rugby World Cup. I think Will Jordan will start. Probably, he can obviously start at fullback, but I think he will be the right wing for the Rugby World Cup. Barrett and Ione are, actually becoming a very decent centre partnership there as well. They're both big guys, but they're both skillful guys as well. And having that double threat for oppositions really has, I think, helped both of them really in their centre play. And then Bowden Barrett at fullback, like the guy's got pace to burn, and obviously he's a second playmaker in there as well. And if he's not playing at 15, he's going to be starting somewhere in the team anyway. And then they've got a decent bench coming on there. You got Roygaard. I don't know much about him. He's in there for debut, so I'm going to be keeping an eye out for him. I think Leonard Brown is someone who is going to need to put his hand up for his inclusion in the 23 at least for the Rugby World Cup, and maybe in the wider squad. I think maybe last year he probably looked like the guy who was going to be in there in the centres, but Barrett and Ione going really well, so I think he's got a lot of work to do for that. Caleb Clark, I think, is very lucky to be the 23rd man, and the reason I say that is because I don't think if there wasn't as much versatility with the Barretts and a few other players, Will Jordan as well, in the back line, to be able to move around the back line and move to different positions, I don't think he would be selected at 23. I don't think he has the versatility that they have to offer that off the bench. But because there is enough, he can just come onto the wing and then somebody can move to a different position if it's needed. So yeah, I think he's lucky to be 23 there. I think he's got a lot to prove as well. He obviously has a lot of natural talent, but he hasn't really shone this rugby championship. So it'd be nice to see him actually putting his hand up and showing the in-depth skill that he has. In terms of then the overall position, I think that Australia, they obviously need to find a win from somewhere before the Rugby World Cup to just get some confidence going, but this is going to be a tough one for them. They've gone for an inexperienced side and they're definitely going to give it a real go, but you're kind of worried for them that they've got this game, then New Zealand in London, and then France after that, before their opening Rugby World Cup game, and you do worry where Eddie's going to find that win from. I think, they're probably going to come up short against the All Blacks in this one, because the All Blacks are in really good form, and they've got, I think, a good mix of established players and players who are fighting for those Rugby World Cup spots as well, and that's really going to, I think, drive New Zealand on, and because of that, I've got to go with New Zealand for the win in this one.